All right, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to this brand new bootcamp slash webinar that we're doing today. This is around automation, things you can automate and probably should. This is one that I started putting together because I've had a chance to travel a lot in recent months. And one of the things that I guess literally every single time is around what is some of the basic automation that you tell people to do? What do you recommend? What should we do? And I'm like, you know, if I'm doing this one-on-one, I should probably do it in bulk for people to be able to learn. So I figured, why not? For those of you that don't know me, I'm Mark. I'm the manager for the Head Nerds team. My role consists of helping partners just like you guys with whatever I can. Started more on the automation side. Now I'm helping with more or less anything I can, from deployment, patching, best practice, whatever. I lead the Nerds team, which is an amazing team to learn to lead because this is the best people we have in the company. This is awesome to work with them. So if you want to reach out to me directly, you see on the screen my Twitter and LinkedIn. This is the easiest way to reach out. This is also where we post a lot of the new content when we do new automation, when we do new version, different things that may be pertinent to you. That's what we use to publish. So just something to keep in mind as well. All right, the agenda, super easy. I didn't want to go complicated, and I also didn't want to put ahead of time the list of automation. So I thought I'd just do it that way. We're doing the intro right now. We're literally almost done. And then we're going to jump through automation and go through the examples. The way I'm going to go about it today is I want to do a little slide on each automation, explain something about it, talk about the use case, why, how, things like that. Then I want to demo it in my lab environment as much as I can, explain how it works, variations, things you can do and change, and so on. I'm also going to demo how to use them. Some of them, they're going to be very similar in their usability, in the sense that they take output, they do something, you make a custom service or check or whatever. So it's not going to matter as much to repeat the same information over and over. So I'm explaining just the first time. Please keep in mind today I'm going to be demoing it using Enable RMM, and Central. But everything I'm going to show, except for like one of them, will work with Enable RMM just fine. The difference is I'm going to show you guys how to upload it in Central in the script manager. And RMM is a different section. When you use it, it's a script check versus a custom service. It's similar in nature, but there's some subtle differences. So please bear with me as we go through that. All right. But again, if you have questions in either or, I'll gladly answer them. By the way, this morning I had a ton of questions on the RMM side of things. That's also okay. It just made sense to kind of merge that into one to give you guys as much as I could. So we're going to start with the history of automation. Why is it important and stuff? And no, I'm just kidding. We're going to skip to the use cases. I don't want to waste everybody's time and start doing a 20-minute essay on automation. I'm assuming if you're there, you understand how this is important. So we're going to start. The earliest, simplest one that I want to talk about as far as automation is Bitlocker. This is something that literally everyone, without exception, I'm going to say that with all reserves, but almost everybody, without no exception, should be using Bitlocker. The reason I say that is that Bitlocker will make sure that your drive is secure, it's encrypted in case it gets stolen. It will make sure that you can restore and get your key if you need to. So what you want to do with Bitlocker is three things. One, you want to monitor to make sure it's healthy, duh. Two, you want to capture the Bitlocker keys and be able to store them. I've actually had an example of why that became very important, so I'll explain that. And three, you want to use a script if you can to enable Bitlocker. Turns out we have all three, so that's going to be great. So what we are going to do is we're going to go through the example a little bit, show how it works and everything. But once again, this is a very basic example. I've talked about it before, I know, but I wanted to start with that one because it's that important. I still visit partners all the time or talk to partners all the time that are not even using that just yet. They don't get the information out, they don't store it, they don't play with it. So it's super important. So I figured, why not? So if I go into, where is my Central? There we go. This is my Central server. So the first thing to do would be to capture these scripts. So for today, all the scripts are going to be in the cookbook. This is the link's going to be in the chat. There we go. And they're going to be there. Now I'm going to send you, all the attendees are going to get a list of all the scripts I'm talking about and where they are and everything. It's going to be little list in Excel. I'm going to send that after the webinar to everybody. So probably end of day. And as I send it, you'll be able to use it. So you don't need to worry about it. You're just going to be able to grab it. But if you want to search on your own, this is what you would do. I would come here, say search for Bitlocker. Again, PowerShell script to enable Bitlocker, super easy. Then disk encryption monitoring, Bitlocker status. There's the PowerShell version versus the M version. There's also the key export. So all of those are there. All you gotta do is download a copy of it. Then what you would do if you're not super familiar with it, you're gonna go to scheduled task repository and you would upload your own version. Alternatively, you can go into Automation Manager, open a copy of it, and I can say like, oh, I want to get my enable Bitlocker, let's say, script. This is my script. This is what it does. This is awesome. I click on File and Upload. This is only available in Central. RMM does not do that, so please bear with me. But when you do upload, it'll go like, oh, it already exists. What do you want to do? I can override, do whatever. In my case, it's already there. I'm not going to cancel out, but just to show you. So you would download and upload a copy of all the automations. They'll show up here at Bitlocker keys and so on. Once you do that, you're going to make a custom service out of it. I'll show you an example later on how to do that. And what you do is you apply it to a machine. In my case, it's already on my laptop. This is one of my loaners that I'm using for today. In a second, there we go. And I go to monitoring. I can see here, I see my status and I see my key. So if I see the status here, I'm gonna, if I was to run the policy, actually, let's show the Bitlocker status first. If I show the status, what it's gonna do, I'm gonna go to monitoring and then Bitlocker status. And you know what, let's use the, let's use that one, doesn't matter. Run, yes, please. Basically what it's gonna do, gonna run, and it's gonna tell me if everything's okay. So we're gonna see the exact same thing, and then Central, we're gonna see Bitlocker is turned on, the status code is 1, it's fully encrypted, and so on. So everything gets outputted. If I go in here and I go into the service, I get the exact same thing. I get all my data points, my status is okay, my drive is fully encrypted, nothing is turned off. So I'm able to monitor also, there's multiple drives, I can see the status. If I have a D drive, E drive, or so on, I could say I'm only encrypting C drive for some reason. You could monitor them separately and everything, and that's what that service will do. So now I'm able to monitor that. Now, if I was for some reason to be turned off, I was talking about a self-healing, you can go to self-healing right here. And I would say, if it goes into a failed state, run the self-heal, the action is gonna be, typically I would say change that to maybe 3 times a day or once a day. That's usually enough because you don't wanna go crazy on turning on Bitlocker. If it doesn't work for some reason, it's never gonna work. You have to do it by hand because you may not have a TPM that's compatible or something, right? And then you run the enable Bitlocker for C drive and so on, and that's it. In that case, the monitoring will run, it will check. If it's turned off, it will turn it on with that self-heal. You do okay, and you're good to go. So that is the way that you would want to do that. And that is the way that a lot of these automation are going to work. You want to monitor for something, and then you want to self-heal. Unless it's a proactive maintenance type of deal, then that's different. But a lot of them are going to be just like that, where you're going to say, look for whatever health you want to get, and then run and capture, or run and monitor, and then self-heal as needed. The importance of doing it this way, in my opinion, is that if Bitlocker is healthy, you monitor it, you're happy. When it goes unhealthy, it'll create a ticket, and then you have to act on it. If you do a self-heal, it will fix itself. Then you do an update, and then you close the ticket. Then you don't have to worry about it anymore, and that just took care of itself. Now, what you can do is once a month, review those tickets and see like, hey, is there anything that is problematic? And then you can act upon it as needed. That makes sense. So that is typically the way I would recommend that. In line with that, we also have the Bitlocker keys amp. This one just captured the key. That's great. Now, in Central, the monitoring data is kept for 90 days. So if you were to put it as a custom service like I did here, it's great. But the device is offline for 3, 4, 5 months. That data is going to be gone unless you're on premise with Report Manager, then you can go into the database. But if you're not, that information will be lost after 3 months of the device being offline. So what I personally like to do is to run the automation policy, create a custom property, and then store the Bitlocker key right here. I ran it this morning. It took me about 3 minutes, and boom, I can do that. So now you can run this once a week on all your workstations and laptops, capture all the keys, put in a custom property. So even if the machine is offline for a longer period of time, then you're good. And it's literally that simple. So that is something that you should definitely take advantage of as well, is outputting the custom properties. If you don't know how exporting the properties work, please just put in the questions pane. We'll cover it towards the end if you guys want me to. That's what we did this morning as well, and that's totally fine. So once again, monitoring Bitlocker, getting the keys and turning it on. All of this completely automated. The only thing left really, if you're not super familiar with that yet, would be to come here under monitoring and make a template and make a rule and then deploy that in bulk. So you could do a monitoring template for Bitlocker keys and status. And in that rule, you would install a task profile to capture the keys and save it to a custom property. And boom, you're more or less done. At that point, the only thing left is to make a notification. And that way you know if anything goes wrong. And that will ensure that anything in the future, you would have the information you need. And Adam's asking is, if having a Bitlocker key in an amp log or anywhere on the machine poses a security risk, personally, I don't think so, because you would have to get to the machine first and get to the file system before, which would be done after encryption. So realistically, not really. If you have a concern with that, what some people will do, sometimes we'll run a daily cleanup of all the log files on Automation Manager. I don't see this done as much anymore, but I know a few people that have done that. It's literally just a select all files, delete all. You can totally do that if you want, but personally, I don't know if it's worth it. So yeah, that's fair. Ellen is asking if Bitlocker monitoring will work without a pro license. No, everything I'm going to cover today for automation and monitoring will require pro license and Central, or in RMM, the full license, not the asset only. The pro license does not have the ability to run automation or to create custom services, so you need to use that as well. In RMM, the process is more or less the same. You're going to upload it into a script manager. You're going to make a script check from it, and then you can do a self-fill with a task from it if you want. If you want to go a little more in depth at that point, we can cover it a little more at the end, or what I would probably recommend is we can cover it in the office hours that we do as well, if you want to go just that much deeper in it as that. All right, really good questions so far. I like it. We have a really big group. This is fun. So the next one is going to be monitoring and enabling UAC. UAC is something that's super basic. I don't see any reason why UAC should be turned off, in my opinion. Hold on, did I skip one? No, I did not. UAC should always be turned on. This is going to help you to make sure the device is a little more secure. Every single step that you can take to make the machine more secure is welcome. UAC is one of them. If someone's going to run something or going to get attacked or anything, the UAC is your first line of defense. It's going to pop up and go like, hey, are you sure you want to run this as admin? Like, really? And then they have to say yes. And that at least is one more line of defense, because they'll go like, wait, I don't know that exe. I don't know that file. I haven't done anything. I'm in Word. And then that might raise some eyebrows. They may call you instead of saying yes. And then that gives you more security. There are some people that want to remove every single point of friction, so they turn all these things off, but that's your job as the trusted advisor to turn it back on. So to do that is super easy. In RMM, that service does not exist. You would have to get it from the cookbook. It does exist in the cookbook if you look for it, but this one just captures, is UAC enabled? Yes, it is in my case. Once you do that, the only thing left to do is that you grab that automation policy. So I can actually probably make it faster than I can find it. UAC enable, then I'm going to do if, then I'm going to say UAC again, enable. Literally, that's done as I'm talking through it. If enabled equals false, then turn it on. That's it. That's the end. Is UAC enabled? No. Turn it on. Done. Woohoo! So in this case, it just monitors it and turns it on as needed. So this policy is already on my server. It's already in the cookbook. So what you would do, you go to self-healing, you go to trigger, you turn it on when it goes failed, you say run, just like we did before. And I'm going to say enable UAC, turn it on. So this is something that you can grab, you can use pretty easily if you do choose, or if you do need it. So it's super easy. It's all little things that will make your life easier as you go through. And you'll be able to get that information that you need. You'll be able to act on it very rapidly. And one thing that I always recommend, if you're going to do self-healing, if you use a PSA, if you're integrated with N-Central, or even in RMM, if you're going to do a self-healing or an action, I recommend to create notifications on those alerts, because you want to know how many times you did self-healing, how many times these services went down and fixed itself, and so on. Because you want to be able at the end of the month or quarter to be able to explain to your customers what you did. I actually find customers that lose end users because they can't justify everything they do because they automated so much. In the mid-range of automation, I see people that automate almost 25% of all their workflows, including in-depth patching automation, including software deployment, day-to-day PC builds, and things like that, all the way up to almost 50% of their workload being automated. So the more you automate, the trickier it becomes to discuss with your customers, because you want to justify what you do, right? So you want to be able to create these tickets, you want to show that value and explain all of that. So it's super important. Yeah, so that's that. So that is the UAC example. It is in the cookbook. Once again, if you want to look for it as I'm talking through it and you don't want to wait for the end, just come to the cookbook, search for the main word in the sentence, like enable UAC, enable, disable, like it's all there. And then central is already pre-built, it's easy, but it's still something that you can leverage very rapidly if you want to search. The next one, it's a tricky one, but I find that it's an important one. You're going to see more and more the ISPs are getting noticed by copyright holders that, oh, this IP address is downloading torrents, it's getting illegal files, and so on and so on. Even though we all know that people should not do that, people still do. So what we've done is we've built a monitoring that will look for all the torrent software on the screen. There's actually a lot of them. So what I personally did is I went online and I looked for every single torrent software I could find. I downloaded them all into a VM that I blew up after, obviously. I put it off the network. I downloaded all of these things, and I looked into what is the process name they're using, what is, all of these software. And I found all the process names, and now that's what we're using to monitor if any of that one of them is there. Not perfect, but it will hit 98% of the possible scenarios where you're going to use torrent. So at least it's really, really efficient. So that's what we've done. Now we also have the option as part of that to kill any torrent software found. So if we found any of those torrent software, we can also kill it at the same time. My recommendation is to do it in two parts. So if I go back here, I do have that BitTorrent detection and response, and I'm saying no torrent found. Woohoo! That's what we want to see. But if there was, it would show here, this would go failed, and then I would do the self-healing. The self-healing in this case would be make this into a failed, then run a self-healing. The self-healing action will be, I was get a policy, detect and kill BitTorrent, yes please, and again notify, and you're done. At that point, what I would recommend is notify you that the torrent was found so that you can actually see it, and call the customer at some point or email them like, hey, we've seen this machine keeps doing that once, twice, 10, whatever times. Okay, let's have a discussion. Or you can also add a pop-up to my automation. You can modify it and add a pop-up if you want to. You can do all kinds of cool things with it. And what it's going to do is that it's going to let you know when those things occur. It will let the end user know that and will likely have him remove the software pretty damn fast. That's also an option. And once again, notify that the self-healing occurs so that you can justify that those actions are actually automatically happening for you. Now, I did say I was going to take an example of creating that service. So what I was going to do is if I go to administration service, you need to upload the automation policy files first. Once you you upload the policy, you would make it a custom service. Then it's going to be called detect and kill BitTorrent. Now here it says, do you want to stop any software? No, I do not. So what I would recommend is to put that to false when you do the monitoring so that you can do a self-healing separately. Now you could have it go fail, it will self-heal at the same time. I personally prefer to separate it because once again, you want to show the value of what you do as a separate action. You want your customer to realize, I do all these things for you. Here's how many self-healing I did. Here's how many times these issues occurred and so on. And that gets from separation. So that I would put false here. And the reason I put a true false is that I'm using the exact same policy to detect that I'm using to fix it. That way you don't need two policies. Then run this periodically, and then, now in this case, I know what it is. So just say, if you don't see no torrent found, right? If it does not contain this, go failed. If it does contain it, then it's normal. Now, if it finds anything, it's gonna go like, oh, torrent software so-and-so is found. Easy, right? So if I look into the example, if I open it up quickly, so I think it's under the other folder. Oh, it is not. It's not. I was right. I was wrong. It's in the other one. Where did I put it? Okay, let's take a quick look. Where did I put it? I don't have enough automation, clearly. There it is. It was there. Okay, whatever. So that didn't kill Bittorrent. Once again, this is what it's going to do. It looks through the process and then reacts. So if I run this, now I'm going to hope that I'm not going to find any, but shouldn't. It's my laptop. And there we go. Actually, it is. The Qt web engine in this case, it's a test process I'm running. So in my case, it's legit, but it's perfect. It shows you it is finding something. It will report on it. In my case, in the online version, I modified it to show that example. That is excellent. And yes, Kenneth, to your question, it only kills this process. It does not uninstall it. A lot of these software are either sticky, some of them are running no install and things like that. So it's just very tricky to uninstall them all. So I did not do that. So yeah, and yes, Jared, this could absolutely be modified to be used as a software blacklist. You can literally take this, and then if you're using it in Central, I would say upload as. It will generate a brand new policy ID for it, and then you're welcome to go in here and modify the list, and then make that to whatever you want. This is everything I'm showing you is a starting point. It's a blank canvas. It's what I've built it for someone that needed it at some point. But you're more than welcome to come here, modify this list, right? Like go for it. And then rename it, use it to whatever flavor you want, and then build upon it. Absolutely, definitely do that, please. So yeah, definitely, very good. So all right, taking a quick note. Next one. All right. So workstation maintenance. I've shown this many times. I know, I don't care. I like to show it every time I can because this is a shotgun approach to maintenance that if you're not going to do it, that's totally fine. But you should at least take some parts of it. And that's also what I wanted to focus in that example. An example of that is that this policy that I built it with a couple of partners of ours. It was built with Aztec in the UK and NetEffect in Vegas. They helped me build that a year and a half ago or so when I went to visit them. And this one, for example, will enable UAC, will flush DNS, set PowerShell to RemoteSigned, and so on and so on. Do everything in that list. If you wanted to, and absolutely, completely an option, I'll show you how in a minute. You can say, I'm going to make this into its own thing. That one's like, yeah, whatever, it's a maintenance. That one, yeah, whatever. I'll show an example of that later. Disabling RDP, it's optional. You can say, you know what, I don't want to use that. You can remove it. It's actually optional. Disabling auto run, so that, in my opinion, should always be there, but you have the option to say, hey, monitor auto run, and if somebody turns it on, please have a warning and then do a self-healing. You can. If you want, it's a registry key, you can monitor that. Disabling hibernation and sleep, those are more just things that people do, so I wouldn't worry as much. Then starting and maintaining Windows Update, yeah, it's always a good practice. I wouldn't worry so much. That one is another one that you can and definitely have the ability to monitor and do a self-heal separately if you really want to go that route. Disabling fast boot or quick start or whatever, they keep changing the name over the years. That you can also do separately, but it makes sense to just do it as part of this. And then the rest is just maintenance. All of these little things, like I said, can be done separately into different automations if you want, or you can just run that big policy once a week and make sure that everything, at least as a baseline, is done. The reason that I recommend to do things like that is that it's all stuff that, in my opinion, are very important. Good example of that is that PowerShell should not be set to the unrestricted or fully open method because you open yourself to hacking attempts. So RemoteSigned is a good security compromise. Disabling RDP, yeah, if your customer needs RDP in the office, then yes, obviously leave RDP on. But most laptops should not have RDP on themselves, the RDP server running, because you don't need to RDP to your own laptop. You're going to use take control to get on their machine. You're going to use whatever, TeamViewer, whatever you use, but you're not going to use RDP 9 times out of 10. If that's the case, disable RDP. Auto run, same thing. We've seen people that were doing social experiments where they would put thumb drives with a little software that would call home just to see what would happen. They leave them everywhere, and it's crazy how many people just randomly plug stuff in that they find on their laptops and a workstation, and then it calls home because they have auto run turned on, right? It's a horrible idea. So all of these things are little maintenance items that make sense. And without focusing on every single thing, I'm going to quickly show it. What did I call that? Workstation maintenance. Darn it. Oh, there it is. Duh. All right. So this policy, it's a very long one. Enable UAC, flush DNS. Like I said earlier, this is the list. It does everything. I may say, you know what? I only care about the disable RDP in this case. All you have to do is pick what you want, delete them all. Just, right click, delete, or press the delete button and just delete, 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 and leave only what you want. Once you've cleaned it up, you've made a new version. So if I do that real quick, right? I only want to disable RDP, so I'll leave everything else out. So delete, delete. Takes me 2 seconds, right? Super easy. Once I've cleaned that up, and I've said I'm going to make this my own because reasons, right? That's all I care about right now, disable RDP. What I would recommend is come here and do upload as. By doing that, this will make a brand new policy ID and a brand new versions in Central. If you use RMM, it doesn't matter, it doesn't care about the ID, so you can just upload it with a different name and you're good to go. And in Central, you do need to do upload as, otherwise you're going to select, oh, that policy already exists, or do you want to overwrite? It won't let you. Upload as makes a brand new name. Disable RDP. This will disable RDP. Duh. And then, okay, and it would upload it, right? That's super easy. You are welcome to do that. Now, I'm not going to save this because I've done that before, and I hate that I have to fix everything after. So start new. And that is something that you have the option to do once again. So you can take these policies and modify them to your liking. Once you go to run them, once again, add a task, create, run. Always, always, always test. I'm going to stress this and mention it a few times today because I've had people that have done this in the past. They've taken what I said to the letter, which is great, and then they'll run the policy onto 1,000 machines without testing anything, and then they call me yelling that I broke stuff. And then I asked them, how did the testing go? Did it work on your small scale? They're like, oh, I just ran it. I'm like, well, there's a problem. Obviously, always test it. So you can do add a task and do it. Couple of caveats. If you do add task from here and you see recurring, so if I say add, and I say add policy, script, whatever, and I say take this, doesn't matter. And I say make this recurring, right? So I say change that to be recurringly every hour, whatever. And then I'm going to say target all my workstations and laptops. Let's say this is going to create a task again against all workstations and laptops today to run hourly. However, any new laptop that come in will not be targeted. This is creating the task at the time that you do it. So I like to mention that. However, if you do a task profile, you have the option to say add a profile, create a series of tasks like these, then you apply them through a rule, much more flexible. That way, if new devices come in, the rule will dynamically allocate them and add them to the task. So that's how you would want to do that one. Just keep that in mind. All right, we talked about that a bit. Next thing, software deployment. Oh yeah, that's a big one. Software deployment is something that I hear about minimum once a week, minimum. From a PSM that reaches out to me, from a partner that reaches out to me, from a webinar I do, from pick a reason, I hear it all the time. It's great. It's not that difficult. People get confused, but it's okay. For example, if I say install a software and it already exists in Chocolatey, I would really, really, really recommend you use the pre-built Chocolatey automation. This is gonna, did I put that? Yeah, I did put it into the Excel you're gonna get after. So you're gonna get how to use the Chocolatey installer amp, super easy, no problem. If the app is not in Chocolatey, or for some reason you don't wanna use Chocolatey, not a big deal. You can do something like this. There's examples of it where it's gonna download the software and do all these things. I'll show you an example in 2 seconds. I'm not going to focus on the Chocolatey side too much because I've done this many, many times in the automation boot camps. I did it into various webinars that I've talked about stuff. So I'm not going to go through that, but we are going to look into this side here. As I go through this, what we're going to do is start here and take a look at an example. So what I'm going to be using as my example is going to be Bitlocker. There we go. So this is something that the partner built. It's in the cookbook. So if you use Bitlocker, you're welcome. You can use it. Don Brown built it for us and shared it. Yeah, there we go. So what this one does is the service already running. So basically, is the app there? If the app is not there, the typo. Anyways, whatever. If it's not installed, does the temp folder exist? If it does not, create it. Easy, right? Is Don actually there today? I'd love to say hi. No, he's not. Too bad. Yeah, so create a temp folder, easy. Once it's done that, it will download the file. Now, in this case, it goes directly to Bitlocker and download the latest installer. That's fine. then it saves it locally. Then it generates the string for the install and does the install right here. So it's literally that simple. Now you can do it through a run PowerShell like that. You could also do it through a run program like this by putting it right here. And then you could say, right, like there's going to be ctemp, Bitlocker, stub, whatever. Then your parameters are going to be, you know, key equals blah, 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 blah right here. The working directory will likely be ctemp. I can say hide it for me, please. And you can choose as a logged on user or system. In this case, it's probably going to be system because it's a system app, and wait for completion. And that's it. Either one of those will do the exact same thing. Now, that's what I'm going to tell you guys. I can do those for literally almost every app, like literally almost. I've seen a couple apps I cannot because there's reasons. It's always weird stuff. But a vast majority you can. So really, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Somebody did it for you. It's awesome. Just use the darn wheel, right? So come to these policies that are pre-built. If you go into the cookbook and you search software install, Bitlocker, whatever, these examples, you'll find them, and you'll be able to use that. So as you go through here, you're going to capture and you're going to install and do all these things. It's fine. One thing I'll mention, the download file. If the file is small, you could simply come here under repository and upload an installer, right? Add file transfer task and then pre-transfer the file and then run an amp to install it once it's been downloaded from N-Central. The thing is, I'm going to do a big asterisk here in the air, is that the file limit is 500 megs, first of all. Oh, someone's saying no audio. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me still, please? I just want to make sure someone's saying no audio. Okay, good. Thank you, guys. Sorry. Okay. I'm seeing. Okay, good. Thank you very much. I'm seeing a bunch of people. Thank you. That's great. Okay. I thought I would lost my audio for a second. So if you do have a really big file, like a 400, 300 megs, whatever, and you put it here, what's going to happen is that really big file is going to have to be pushed to every place that you want to install one by one. It does not cache it through a probe at the moment. So if you have 400 megs that you want to push and you're pushing it to 100 machines, that's 40 gigs that you're going to try to send to 100 machines at the exact same time. That is going to be a tremendous amount of bandwidth. Even if you have a gigabit or even a 10 gigabit connection on your server, that is so much bandwidth. I mean, if you have 10 gigabit, you'll be fine. But if you have a gigabit, this is going to max out your connection pretty fast. And if you have 1,000, 5,000, 20,000 plus devices on your N-Central server at the same time, you will have a lot of issues. So definitely do not recommend to push large installers. If they are large, you can use the pre-built objects. It's a download from Amazon, which will ask you to do a secure string with the access key and everything. Or you can do the Azure one. We've made an object for it. So I made this where you can now do a container name, location, and so on. Use those. All of these are there for you to use. Definitely, that's a better option. Considering how much you pay for Blob and S3 storage, it makes way more sense to download it from the corporate website or from one of those and be able to manage your bandwidth better. Just something to keep in mind. All right. Now that I'm done preaching, I'll get off my soapbox and we'll move on. So, rebooting the machine periodically. That's another one of those examples that I get a lot of questions about. And the reason I get so many questions about it is that it's not that difficult, but it becomes very tricky, right? You have those customers that say, I never want you to reboot my machine unless I say yes. I have those customers that says like, no, rebooting is important, just force it. I have those customers that say like, no, only reboot at night, but the machines are off at night. Like if you're anything like me, your laptop's gonna be in a bag turned off, right? Like I have multiple laptops and they're all turned off unless I use them. I mean, that one's turned on, but it's my gaming laptop. So, you know, when my day's over, that's where I'm going. Other than that, like, you know, whatever, it's not gonna be able to reboot during the evening unless you leave it on. So what we recommend is that there's a couple options you can do reboots. You can do a pop-up. So if the uptime is over X amount of days, I have a pop-up to like, hey, you know, your machine's been up for many days. Can you please reboot when you have a chance? And then after like 5, 10 more days, you can add like, you know what? It's been 10 days. You've not rebooted. Sorry, you're being rebooted right now. Deal with it, right? You can actually do that if you want. That is going to be our example in the cookbook. That's going to be the link you get. You can also force it in the schedule. Just like screw your rebooting. It's a bit aggressive, but you know, some people do that. And finally, there's also an option to do it based on inactivity. What you can do is you can actually look, is their user logged on? No, well then reboot. Is the session active? Is the user actively doing stuff? Like, no, he hasn't done anything for 3 hours. It's probably not his machine anymore. Now, if you know that this customer runs a lot of stuff at night, then yeah, maybe don't force it because he might yell. But the typical average customer, this is not going to be that much of an issue. You can force reboot the machine if he's not active, or you can have a pop-up like, hey, I don't think you're being super active right now. Can we reboot? And that's totally an option if you want. So all of these things are options when it comes to reboot. It's going to be whatever makes sense for you, but this is something that you should really take advantage of if you can. So if I come here and I say restart, so there's a pending reboot or review. Reboot if it's higher than X. There's all kinds of different options that's in the cookbook that we've added over the years. Actually, I think I just saw the one I wanted to show. Yeah, that one. So I don't know if that one's a cookbook yet. It should be. It's really, really big. It's awesome. And what it does is it starts by checking, is their user logged on? If he is, what is his inactive time? And that is a policy that a little script I built that checks for the idle time. So it basically checks, it's a user input timer, and it checks if someone is actually actively clicking the mouse or the keyboard and how long it's been. Now I can say if it's more than 10 minutes, well, you're clearly not at your computer. So I can say like, hey, I see you've been inactive for a while. Do you mind? If you don't say yes, if you don't say no, we're going to reboot. It's not equal to no, log him off, kill him. On the other side, hey, you're clearly working. Can you please reboot when you have time? Or if he's not logged in, too bad, reboot. Because he's not logged in, who cares really? So all of these allow you to get better result at force rebooting machines. You can use the built-in stuff in Central or RMM and do it based on schedules and stuff, and it works fine for some people, but some people struggle. So I've made these scripts over time to make it easier for you guys. So this is a good example of that. And you're going to ask me, why is it so important to reboot? Well, there's primarily 3 reasons. Yeah, 3 reasons. Let's go with that. One is that the machine will run faster. Duh. 2 is that it will run without these little gremlins or these little things in the OS. I've seen when I don't reboot my machine for 3, 5, 6, 7 days when I travel, or sometimes I just don't do it because I don't want to. If I don't reboot for a while, I'm gonna start seeing some weird artifacts in Windows, because I have right now probably 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, over 15 applications open on my different screens. My primary one's got probably 14 right now. All these apps are open, they're doing stuff in the background. If you don't reboot periodically, a lot of memory gets kind of scavenged and messed with, and Windows just behaves erratically. And then that's when you get those silly support cases. I can't print, I can't do that, I can't do this. And yeah, to get rid of the patch v2 errors, yeah, that's exactly the next point, Jared, is the next one is for patch reboots. When you install patches, you want to reboot. If the patch requires a reboot and you're not rebooting, this is going to be a problem because it means that the machine is not secure. And that is super, super important. If you install the patch and you think you're done, you just, I'm done, I'm going to have a computer now. That's fine, but as long as the machine is not rebooted, if it does require reboot, the patch is not technically installed. So to your point, Jared, you're absolutely right. You need to do that. Absolutely. So now that you've done all of that, you force reboot, you're in better shape. Next, installing the Connect to Help tray icon. That's another one of those little tools that is completely free. You're welcome to use. And I don't know why a lot of people don't use it, but I absolutely love it personally. So what I would do is, there we go. This little tool, it's in the Success Center. Actually, it's in the old NRC right now is where I know where it is. So if I go to nrc.enable, so if you have to go to this site, you may need to log in if you don't have one. I don't care. And I'm going to go to downloads, and any enable partner, RMM, and Central, whatever, has access to it. I'm going to connect the help right here. And you grab the Connect to Help. There we go. And you download the app. There's the install guide. I'm not going to cover how to deploy it because it's all there. You install the app and it gives you this. Basically, this is going to generate an MSI for you to install, so you can customize them for some of your customers. You make a new one, you call it whatever, and then you choose your icon. So the icon that shows in the corner right now by default is a little safety buoy. You can change that to whatever icons you want. It's easy. Then whatever pop-ups, when somebody hovers over the icon, what do you want it to say? You choose that. Then what color scheme do you want to use, right? Like, I don't know, I want to use a nice bright pink. I don't want black, I want to use like that little purple bluish thing. I want to use this color and whatever, right? All of those, they're yours. Have fun, change them. Once you've done that, you change what the header text is and everything. So it's completely brandable and customizable to you. Once you've done that, then what action do you want to put, right? I can say link to my corporate website. I want to link it to an email, for example. With the email link, you can put in the body, the computer name, and the username pre-built for you here. Under options, I can even say do a screen capture, so I can do like right now I have this massive screen and 2 more. If I do screenshot here, it will make an email and attach a screenshot of all 3 screens so that the user, you can actually attach an issue. You can even record a problem if you wanted to with a small little video that will be sent. And all of this is completely automated for you through the tool. And again, it's free. That's the best part. Then you can do the remote link. You can do commands, so run like PowerShell or run something as local admin, a local command, sorry, as long as the user has access to do it. All of these things are available for you to use. Super easy. Then you do next, next, next. You generate the MSI and you follow the install guide to deploy it. So really, really, really recommend you use it because it's super easy. So yeah. Someone's asking if that policy from before is in the cookbook. It should be. If it's not, I'll definitely put it on for you guys this afternoon. I'm pretty sure it is. But if it's not, I'll get the link. I'll put it in for you guys. It's gonna take me 2 minutes. Good question though. So yeah, so that is the idea behind the connected help tray icon. You can make it look like this, where it's gonna show the computer info. So when you call them, it's like, what's your IP? You're like, I don't know. Now you can see it. What is your machine name? Oh, it's right there. That's easy. And then, you know, what username are you using and what links and blah, 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 blah. Click this, go to my support page. I'll get you a session or whatever. All of these you can automate to just save yourself time. Someone's asking if I can show it in the tray icon. So Windows 10 and Windows 11 as a way to hide inactive or unused icons by default. I don't know if there's a PowerShell way to do it. Hold on, I'm gonna take a note because I would love to find out. Tray icon, how to force certain icons, PowerShell. Okay, I'll look into it. I've never done it, but I'm curious now. I'll take a look. The connected help is available for both RMM and Central. However, RMM has a built-in tray icon of its own, so you don't necessarily want to use that, but you can if you want. All right, next item. Next item, we're going to talk about finding PST files. Honestly, I'm not sure why. I get asked this all the time, so I figured screw it, I'll build it. You can use this to modify and do it at any flavor you want. Right now, I'm looking for PSTs because I keep getting asked for that. People are like, oh, I wanted to find all the PSTs on the guy's machine. Fine, sure. So I built this script for you guys. What this will do, you can use it to trigger based on size or quantity. You could also use it by modifying the script a bit to say, you know what, we're going to copy all the files to a share. You're welcome to do that. And that lets you basically go through whatever you want to do. So all of this, it's up to you. So yeah, it's literally that simple. So if I go into the example here, we're gonna go here and do PST. Hey, there it is. Basically, this runs, now this is gonna go into C. So that's gonna take a while because my C is pretty big. So I'm gonna go C/users/Marc-Andre Tanguay and say okay. So I'm gonna change it to just look into my actual laptop. Darn it, oh, yeah, okay, that's my mistake, guys. I forgot that I redirected. So when you run it, you have the option to put where you want to put it. So this is a comment, so it doesn't matter. So it's gonna look under my user profile only. Give it a second here. And it should only find 1, maybe 2. I think there's only 1. Give it a second here. It's gonna say, here's the PSTs I found. This is why I changed it to be only this folder, because it can take a while if you have a lot of stuff. In my case, they have massive OneDrives, so that's why it takes longer. Most people is gonna be very, very rapid. And there it is. I found 1 PST, 75 megs. This is the one. It's my personal mail folder. I don't have much in it. And then there you go. This is the list of all the PSTs found, and this is it. That's easy. So if I go into N-Central, or if I did it in RMM, be the same idea. You upload it, you make a custom service from it. Once you've done it, you go into your machine and you apply it again. Always test it. So that's what I did. And then I can see here, PST files, click on it. And yay, there's 1 PST found. It's this big. This is the one. And there's all this stuff. So now it's able to do it. What I recommend is when you have strings, you do need to put a threshold. What I usually say, the string does not contain no threshold. It's normal. That way, you don't have to worry about whatever is going to be in there, right? And I don't like putting like ASDF something 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 because it'll just confuse people if they try to use it. So that tends to make a little bit more sense to me instead. It's completely up to you. All right. So yeah, so this is the example. Once again, you can modify to your liking. This is looking for PSTs. I could look for more or less anything. You're welcome to change that however you see fit. It's super easy. It's going to be a matter of, you know, what are you looking for? So yeah. Yeah, that's it. So we're going to go to the next one. All right. Self-healing clock drifting. Clock drifting is one of those that when I visit partners, I want to say almost every time. I don't want to put everybody in the same bucket because it happens and it's not. But almost every time when we look through active issues, I like to do a dump and then do a pivot table on which ones and how many. I always find some clock drifting from 1 to 100, right? It depends. I've seen partners with 20,000 devices and they had like 2, and I've seen partners with 1,000 devices and they had like 50. It's just completely hit or miss, but it's important to address them. Clock drifting can mean that, you know, your Wi-Fi will no longer authenticate, that your machine will no longer authenticate, that you may have some domain sync errors and stuff like that. I've actually had the Wi-Fi 1 issue myself when my one of my machines that I was using, I drifted way beyond normal because I was using it in the weird lab and the time server changed it, and I couldn't log into anything. I realized what it was. I was able to go and fix it, and then everything came back. But you know, you could have automated that. Everything that you can automate is always one thing that's done. So if we look at that example now, similar idea, right? You want to monitor for clock drift right here. It's a pre-built monitoring service in End Central. You just need to make sure it's applied, which typically it is. It's 37, I think it's seconds, or no, it's 0.37 seconds. So it's really not that bad. We're within range, we're cool. So if that goes into a failed state, what I would recommend is to do a trigger to say, if it goes warning or failed, run a self-healing. What is a self-heal going to be? Super easy. Glad you guys asked. I'm going to show you. My allergies are killing me this afternoon. It's going to be drift, I think. Yay. This one, simple. It's going to sync to a time server. There's a different version. I don't like that one. Let me look at a different one. So where is it? Sync time to net. Yeah, okay. Let's look at that. So that one, get the information, sync with an external time server or sync with a DC, whichever one. So if you're in a domain, use that one. If you're not, use that one. That came from partner. It's also a good one. It's also in the cookbook. So you have a version. That one will look based on where you are. So if I run this, yeah, whatever. Nope, it's gonna sync. And in my case, it says no because the time service is not running. That's on me. Oh, the DC, sorry. I'm not able to sync to a DC. So it's saying, no, I can't do that. So it's super easy. It's just gonna make it easy on that point. And yeah, so that gives you the information about it. In my case, it's complaining that I'm not in the domain because I am using an Azure AD domain and I'm not fully joined. I'm just somewhat joined, so that's normal. But it gives you the ability to get in and do what you need. So just that example again, just very nice. Monitor your clock drift, do a self-heal, and then again, once again, I'm gonna mention it every time, do a notification, do an alert. That's super, super important. Next example, I'm not gonna go through all of them, but I wanted to mention it because I get partners reaching out to me literally all the time. When Log4j or the latest CVEs last year or Print Nightmare, Registry Ivan, so on and so on. There's been so many. When those come out, one of the first things that we do is either enable third parties. Sometimes it's Lewis, our security nerd. He's one of my guys. He's awesome. Or sometimes myself, really. It'll be a mix. We'll build either monitoring or mitigation scripts for the latest CVEs, for the latest security issues. As those occur, we look for them, we build it, and we publish it. So obviously, we publish them on social media to let you guys know. We publish as much as we can. We put in the cookbook, so you guys are welcome to use them. So definitely use that. I've had people reach out to me around the July, August timeframe last year when Print Nightmare came out and was discovered before Microsoft fully fixed it because it took a while. While we were waiting for that, they wanted to have a quick way to mitigate it. We built a mitigation script for it and we published it. Use those, make your life easier, secure the environment and use it. As before, asterisk, test it first, right? Once you've tested it, then go for it. Now, that is just important that you take the time to do all of it. All right. So definitely just invest the time into looking for what we build. Look at the cookbook, look at our social media, whether it's Lewis, myself, whoever, and that's where we publish all of those things, because that will make your life a whole lot easier. All right. So like I said, I'm not going to go through all of those. I've put a couple in the email you're going to get, but once again, it's on the cookbook. Just look for the name, any one of those, and you'll find them. We took the time to create them so that you don't have to, so definitely use them. This one's a tricky one. It's something that I've been asked to do a few times. People said, I want to know if local admins or domain admins have been changed. So if people are doing lateral access granting, which then they do that to increase privileges. So you're going to see like, oh, this machine, someone added him as an admin, and oh, on this machine too, and oh, this machine too, and someone changed this and that. Now it's signs that there's probably a hijacking or something being changed. Now that is something that you need to review quickly. How do we do that? We built monitoring, and we did it for, again, local admin and domain admin. Both of them are in the cookbook, and you're welcome to use them. The domain admin, I believe I've put in literally last night, so this is a brand new one. The local admin has been there forever, well, forever, but for a while. So you're really welcome to use those. And if we look at what it does, it's pretty straightforward actually. I'm going to go monitoring. It's called local admin change. Yes, it is. So that one, what it does when it's done opening, there we go. It gets everybody in the admin group. This is local admin because I'm not on a DC. The DC one you would have to run on a domain controller, so that's normal. Then what you do is you're going to say get the list of local users and then compare it. How do we compare? I actually use a registry key for that. So if I look here, I do under software MSP local admins, and that's where I store it, and then I recall that, and then I compare the list of A versus B, and then that gives me all the information that I need. So if I was to run this on my own machine, this is going to take a few seconds, and while it does, I'm going to open up computer management, go to my admin group, and I'm going to add someone in it so that you can see what happens when someone is added. So I'm going to say admin 1. All right, it's done. It says here, no change. The list before, the list after, right? That is the full list. Marc-Andre's in the list, and the other system admins, who cares? So I'm gonna add someone and see, is it gonna realize it? Which I know it is, by the way. We're just gonna wait for a few seconds. I mean, unless I broke something, but hopefully not. So right now it's comparing any additions, any removals. Takes just a few seconds. And then because you run it as a custom service, you can run it as hourly, or you can run it every few minutes, whatever. It's gonna come right here and say like, hey, someone added admin 1, which I just did. Makes sense. So now I'm able to monitor that because the system is using the registry to store that. So this is an example, very simple, that you can 100% leverage, and hopefully you are, because it's gonna make your life a whole lot easier. And yeah, again, not a big complicated thing. We do the same thing for domain admins. It's just basically a list of whatever has been generated. System is the automation. Again, it's a really long one. Literally, it's pages and pages of objects. I'm not gonna read through all of them, but in the end, what it does, that it stores the list into a registry, and when you compare, it's gonna go fail. Now, one thing I'll note is if you rerun this, the next time you're gonna see no change again, because it checks against the last time. So when this goes failed, you want it to notify immediately using RMM and Central, otherwise you're gonna miss out on the alert. So that's super important. There is an RMM version and then Central version. Use the one that's appropriate for your platform because they act a little bit differently. See, now it says back to no change because the registry was updated. So that is something that once you do, you can then add it here in the monitoring. I don't know if I have it on my machine, but that would be allowing you to build local admin, change monitoring, blah, blah, blah. And then you can see here if anything's been changed. And then once again, get an alert. So it's a good sign to be looking for those things proactively. All right. Next item, setting PowerShell to RemoteSigned. I'm not going to spend much time on this, but I've been asked, I don't know how many times to create this because a lot of people have confusion. It's got to the point where, just so you guys know, we actually added an object in the newer versions of Automation Manager. So if you have a recent and central, or if you update it on RMM, PowerShell, get PowerShell and set Power. No, that's not it. That one. Yay! Set PowerShell at the machine to remote sign. That does the same thing as the PowerShell script. It just scripted for you automatically. So you're able to use the pre-built object, and then you can come here and run. What I find is that some people would do unrestricted. I don't like this. I find it a little too restrictive. So restricted is basically nothing, so it doesn't work. It's not good. All signed is tricky because you have to sign everything. You have to have the cert on the machines. It's very tricky. So most people don't bother to do that, except for a few very security conscious MSPs that I work with. But most of the time, it's going to be remote signed. Remote signed is a good compromise where you have to have the proper privileges to run. You need to be able to sign it if you're going to do it remote, which basically secures a lot of that. And that gives you the ability to have a more secure environment while still being able to do your job effectively. All right. Having said all of that, that is that example. There's not much else to say. Once again, just run on all the machines you want, just be done with it. If that makes sense for your environment. So a lot of people come to like, oh, I can't run PowerShell, it's all restricted. I say, why is it? I'm like, we don't know. If you don't know why, obviously discuss it first, and then if it makes sense for you, you can run something like this. The one thing is, if you do it through PowerShell, just make sure to add the -force. The -force flag at the end will mean that it will not ask for permission, it will just do it. So that's an important flag. All right, the next one. The next one is disabling news and interest. This was shared by a partner. And by the way, if you guys have automation you built, you want to share with the community, you want to get your name out there, you're welcome to share that with us. If you go into Cookbook or if you email me directly, whatever we prefer, that's totally fine. But this is an example of one that was built by Simon. This is our second one that's partner built today. Simon shared it with us, and what it does is that it sets a flag in Windows 10 to disable news and interest. And that is a feature that is good in nature, but more annoying than anything. So a lot of people have kind of decided to get away with it. So you can remove that. The next time the machine reboots, this will be gone, and this makes it a lot cleaner. So not obviously something that you mandatory, it's not something that you need to use, but it's something that is definitely easy. And the way it works is if I come here, and I go to amps, and I go to use, disable news and interest. You just run this, it says the red flag, and you're done, literally. That's really all it does based on the version. Once again, you see Simon's info here if you want to reach out to him, he's awesome. And that does that. He's in Australia though, so just be mindful. And yeah, that is a super easy thing that you can do. Simon today? I was hoping he would be. No, he's not. That's okay. It is nice for him though, that's fair. So yeah, so that policy, once again, you can run periodically. So there's two kinds of things in what I'm showing today. There's the examples that are more maintenance or reactive or do as you need type of policies. And there's the one that you can do with the monitoring and the self field. You just need to use them according to what your needs are. Then you can alert, you can report, you can just show what you did to show value back. And like I said earlier, it's important that you report, that you create tickets when you do these automations, because that's how you're going to justify what you did throughout the month to your customer at the end of the month. The next one, I've been asked to do this forever, so I decided to find it by the bullet and put it in. I took a modified version from the Sinex one, and you can find online if you Google it. It is very verbose. It generates some weird alerts and errors, but it actually works really well. It will remove a ton of bloatware. So it is something that you can definitely leverage. So if I come here and I go into here and I go and look for it, bloatware, there it is. This one, it's long though, I'm not kidding. If I do edit here, where is my edit window? Where did it go? Ah, there it is. That is a long script. So you can absolutely use that. You're welcome to do it. Yeah, that is definitely 100% something that you can use. So yeah, if you have not used it yet, it was just put in the cookbook yesterday. I think it is. I put it last night. So you're welcome to go and grab it, use it. It's great. It will remove a lot of bloatware. Now, you are welcome to come here and change some of those lists if you don't want to remove all of them, right? You can comment out whichever line you want, like that. Adding a checkbox here. So if some of your customers say, I need the whiteboard or a to-do list or whatever app that nobody really uses, this is some of the pre-built Windows App 10X, and then there's more stuff after that, right? The Pandora Media, that's pre-built, Candy Crush, and all that garbage. You can remove all of that if you want by default. So all of this, just run it and then test it, and if it makes sense, that's great. It's another one of those pre-built thing that will help. The reason I got so many requests in the past is that with the OEM computers taking a different part of the market, right? Everybody used to use just Dell, Lenovo, HP, and a couple other ones. We're seeing a lot of people just fall back to a lot of more retail-ish providers and sellers. So that's part of what's happening, and because of that, we're seeing more bloatware, because the retail side of the PC industry does tend to put more bloatware than the enterprise side, right? That's kind of normal. And yes, Isaiah, if I butchered it, I'm sorry. Everything I've shown so far will work with RMM. And the only one that won't is going to be, I think, the second to last one. Yeah, everything else will work with RMM just fine. I'm just doing it in Central because I only have an hour and a half and I had to just choose one to demo, but it will work fine. The next one I want to talk about is doing a restore point. It is something that's simple, I know, but it's something that's useful once in a while. You're going to do a major update, you're going to do a big software deployment, things like that. It's nice to do a restore point because then you can go back if you need to. So we have automation for this. It's already pre-built. You can use it, right? So all you got to do is restore point. There we go. Actually, this is that's the one. So I get the date, time into this, right? Year, month, day, blah, 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 blah. And then I concatenate that into the, something maintenance. And then I just say do the restore point. So this is gonna allow you to clean up a lot of stuff very, very easily. And then just do your restore points as you need and you're good to go. Just like before, you can come here and say file upload. Then you go to your repository to make sure, and then you do add a task, you run it. If you're gonna do it recurringly to all machines, do profiles, don't forget, do a rule, deploy in bulk, and boom, you're good to go. I covered all that at the beginning, but just make sure that you remember that because that's super important. All right, we have 3 left. So I did promise 15. I actually delivered 18. So you know what, sue me. I'm pretty happy with the list. So we're gonna keep going. 3 more. Next one is gonna be how to create and maintain a local admin account. The local admin account is something that as an MSP, a lot of people like to have. They like to be able to log in if the customer has an issue. But what we find is that a lot of times when they go to log in, it doesn't work anymore. The end user deleted the account, disabled it, whatever. And this policy that I built will basically check if the user exists. If it doesn't, I'll create it. If he's not in the admin group anymore, it will add him. It will reset the password, unlock the account, and enable it if it's been disabled. I can do all of that in literally seconds. So I come here, then I search for it. Let's use, it's correct. Let's just use that one. Okay. So that one is, does the local admin exist? If he does not, create him. Get the admin, the user is an admin. If he's not an admin, add him. Then right here. Once we've done all of that, the next thing is unlock the local account. I can add that if I want. I can say enable local user. There it is. And then finally, put that back right here. So enable local account and set password like that. So the only thing left, because I added all this stuff, is going to be the link, all of these inputs. So here's a username, here's the password, here's a username. And once again, all of these things, they're a starting point, they're a blank canvas, right? This is something that you can go and play on your own and add as you feel that you need. Now, if we look at this example, right? Hold on, I'm going to show you all this stuff because I'll be in trouble. There we go. This is the accounts on my machine. There's different ones, but it doesn't matter. The one is admin 1 right now. If I run this policy, and I'm going to say MSP admin. I'll make a really long password and say, okay. It's going to take a second. It actually takes a few seconds to run because the permissions take a bit of time. Refresh. Nope. That. Why is it not working? What did not work? What did I do wrong? Not exist. Okay, what did I do wrong? If it is equal to true, oh wait, it's false. Good thing it's not the one in the cookbook. It's the one that I was using for testing, so that makes more sense. Read this. There it is. MSP admin just got added, and now it's getting added to the admin group. It's gonna take a few seconds. See, it just did. Where did it go? Oh, other screen. And when I look, he's not a member of the admin. So the cool thing with this policy is if I take him and remove him from the admin group, or if I lock the account, if I disable the account, whatever, or if I change the password, as I rerun this policy, it will maintain. So not only does it create the account, this will also do the hygiene and will generate all of that. So that makes it very, very easy. To your question, the password is never in plain text. So you can see I use a password field, and what it does is that you can see here, creating the account, I don't show the password. The input parameters, I don't show the password. It's hidden from all logs because it's the password file. It's a password. It's completely hidden. See here, same thing, setting the password. Does not store the password visually. So that's super important. So when you create your input parameters, if you do a string, yes, that's going to be in plain text. Passwords are not. That is the same reason that you cannot put the default values for security. So that makes it a lot better. The next example we're going to touch is going to be pushing a Chrome extension. So this is something that I got asked a ton of times for. I actually got asked this morning to do it for Edge. I've never done it for Edge, but I told them I would take a look. I think I'm waiting for an email to follow up on this, but I will take a look for sure. But right now we're going to look at Chrome because that's the one I built. So if I go here and I say Chrome, Chrome extension installer. So this one simply sets a specific registry value that we need. Then it basically runs it puts a value for the extension ID and the URL for that thing defined. And then when you open Chrome the next time, it will force install. That's actually how it works. It's automatic. So this, so this will basically allow you to do that. And a few people were saying like Chrome is not the number 2 browser. I agree, but that is the one that someone asked me to do this morning, so I'll look into it. So yeah, that is allowing you to do it this way pretty easily. So then at that point, you just run this, you go through the motion, and you're done. Super easy. So this is another very basic example. Run, done, forget it. You can run it daily, you can run it weekly just to be safe, or you can just do it one time in API as well, whatever you prefer. And that's going to just show up as it would for all the others. All right, I know we're having fun. I have one more left, and then we'll go through Q&A. I have a bunch of questions. I have not been ignoring you guys, but I wanted to cover them at the end. So we're going to get there pretty darn soon. The last one is locking the computer to the user if the user is inactive. Yeah. So the reason that I put that there is that a lot of people will use Take Control, TeamViewer, whatever, pick a software. And when they do, they'll often leave the machine unlocked when they disconnect, and that's obviously a security risk. So what you can do is you can run automation periodically and say like, hey, the user's been active for X amount of minutes, let's just lock the machine up to be safe. So the way you would do that is, and that's usually more going to be for server, but this is something that you can definitely log. So I can say log desktop if the user is inactive. So once again, it says how long has the user been inactive, and then if it's been more than X, log the workstation. Now, if the user is not logged on, it won't do. Like, I don't need to do anything, the user is not logged in. But if the user is indeed logged in and he is inactive, then I can automatically do that. So yeah, that is basically that example. Actually, I'm literally almost to the minute the same time as this morning. That's pretty good. So for all the questions that are coming in, by the way, I'm not ignoring you. I saw them all. We're going to answer them in just a few minutes. Almost done, actually, literally. And all right, so let's go through questions now. So next question, the first question, easy. Is it going to be recorded? Will we get access to the session afterwards? Yes and no. It's going to be in the MSP Institute. It takes about 2 weeks to a month for it to be edited. Once it is, we'll put it there. Next one. Is it possible to store Bitlocker's keys in Enable RMM with a custom stored data? Sadly, at the moment, no. It doesn't have the ability to store in custom fields yet from automation. But in central can RMM, you would have to monitor it through the regular monitoring data, and that's pretty much the only way. Yeah, so with these things, we could be using custom properties for input, for true, false, product key, and everything. Is there a limit on the number of performance issues that may occur? No, there's no difference. So custom properties, when you run an automation, you can do it input or output. There's no performance penalty or hit at all. The only thing you need to consider is if you have a server with 20,000 devices on and you add a custom property to all 20,000, this is going to take a few seconds because it is literally creating the default value for all 20,000 devices by itself. So that's going to take a few seconds, but once you use them, there's no penalty whatsoever. Asus was asking, what software do I use to create scripts? I personally use Visual Studio Code or PowerShell ISC, depending. I am forcing myself to use VS Code more and more, but I still like PowerShell ISC, so I still go back and forth. I am on Windows 11, so I am forcing myself to go to the more newer UI of VS Code. Recording again, we talked about that. What is the best way to share automations? Honestly, the best way is through the cookbook or reach out to me. If you go into the cookbook and you log in, so if I go to the cookbook, there's a button here, upload a script. You can upload scripts. They come to me, I get notified, and then we can work on it. So if there's anything, they will go here and I'll know, and we can work and talk about it. So super easy. All right, next one. For the bloatware remover, will it work with McAfee and other AVs? Usually no, because they require user intervention. They don't allow silent uninstall. Somewhat for security and somewhat because they're difficult to deal with. That's what they do. So that's kind of normal. Rob was asking about demoing it for RMM. I will come back to that. I'll keep it for the end. I was going to finish the questions, but I will come back to you, Rob. Someone's asking, why would we not enable system restore instead of creating multiple restore points? You can enable system restores. You should still create restore points. Otherwise, it doesn't automatically do it for you. If you enable system restores, it will do it when you install software or on key points, but it won't always do it. So doing it manually, if you know you're going to do big maintenance today or the user going on the road, whatever, pick a reason, that's an option if you want. Next one, how is the password stored under the hood? Is it encrypted? Yes, it is. The passwords in the database are encrypted everywhere, and they're not going to go into any log files. They're transited into memory to the machine through a web service. It's all secured, no problem there. Someone's saying that Edge is very similar to Chrome about the Chrome plugin thing. I agree. It's based on Chromium, but some of the settings and flags are different because Google does things differently sometimes for themselves. So that's just something I have to verify and test. I've not done that. Next one, just confirming you had a note in the initial site that this will work in central, not only. No, that's the other way around. There's one that will work only for enable for central. If I go back a couple slides, that is the Chrome deployment thing. That one. This, oops, come back here. That one. The Chrome extension only works for central because I need to run it as a local user. So when you run this one, you have to run as locally logged on user and not as system. That is not something Enable RMM can do yet. That's why. And yes, Rob, I saw your question again. No worries, we'll come right back. You deploy passport extension to Chrome and Edge automatically, and you disable password managers built into the web browsers using these. Yeah, so that worked perfectly. You're already doing it, Jared. That's awesome. Was there any handouts? Not yet. I will be sending the list of automation to everybody who attended. If you did not attend, I'm not going to be sending it, but you guys are there, so you attended, obviously. Where in DM do you see the custom property field? Okay, good point. So when you run an automation, if you have an input or an output, right? If you've created those, when you go to run the policy, so if I go to say add a task, right? And I say add automation policy, and then I say I want to get my Bitlocker keys as an example. It says there's an output. What do you want to do with it? So I can say take the key and store it into my Bitlocker key custom property. Similarly, if it has inputs, so if I say, like get input parameters, I can say use an input for the property. So input or outputs, JSON, I can do that way, super easy. All right. All right, so that's that. Last question was from Rob. You wanted to see it in RMM. We're going to take 2 seconds. I'll show you guys the same thing. Well, just a couple examples. That one. I have too many labs, guys. I'm just confused. Yeah, we'll use this guy. I need to use my QFA. Just give me a sec. I think it's that one. There we go. Oh, darn it, it's not that one. Hold on, I gotta find the right one. There's too many ones. There it is. That's the other one. All right, let's try it. Let's be hopeful. Let's be hopeful. And yay! Okay. So in RMM, I'm not gonna demo every single one. I'm just gonna do what I did for N-Central and explain one of each. The way you would start is you would a script manager, first of all. If you want to use Automation Manager, click on the shiny button here, download it, install it, run it, great. Next, you're gonna do new. You're gonna put in a name, so Bitlocker monitoring, blah, blah, blah. And then there's gonna be a script check or a task, whatever, right? A script check is gonna be for monitoring. Automated task is to run on demand. And then you upload the file that you want. So that is going to be your AMP or whatever. Once you upload it, they show up in this list. At that point, depending on if they are a script check or a policy or both, it will show under the checks tab. So if I want to do a Bitlocker, for example, I would do it as a DSC probably, but whichever one you want, script check, and then you go into the list. I have a big list here because I keep doing demos and stuff. It's all garbage, but it doesn't matter. Then I can say Bitlocker status like that and say next. Then you have all your parameters. Because you cannot have custom thresholds in RMM, I've put all of them as inputs. So you see here, if Bitlocker is not available, like Windows Home, do you want it to go failed? Yes or no? If the drive does not have Bitlocker turned on, yes, please go failed. And then finish. Once you do that, it adds it to the machine and you can use it. The last part from this is going to be if I go to tasks, I go to automated tasks, I can then say enable Bitlocker. I don't know if I have that one here. Let's say that would be enable UAC or enable Bitlocker, whatever. When you go to run it, give it a second, there you go. You're going to say manually, or sometimes already, uncheck failure, and the check's going to be a script check, and it would be my UAC monitoring, blah, 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 whatever. Let's see, this guy, doesn't matter. With my UAC monitoring, because it's a UAC, or the Bitlocker one for the Bitlocker, and you say next, and then you say finish, and it will add that to the machine, and then the task will run automatically as a self field when the other one fails, and that's how that would work. RMM does not have custom properties yet. It does not have granular templates and rules application yet, so you can do a default template, but that's pretty much it. So that is the important part there. So Ted is saying, is there a way to add a reg key or several as a logged on user in HKLU? You only do it as an admin, blah, blah, blah. So what you would do in N-Central anyways, Ted, is you would come here, and when you run it in N-Central and you execute, you have the option to say run as admin, right? You can say run as local system or logged on user. So if you want to do the HKLU, you would pick this one. And you would say run as a logged on user. So that's the one. Or if it's current user, yeah, current user, that's the one. So that is the one. It's a little small, let me read. I've been recently, yeah. Okay, so Jared's asking for any advice to clean up. Honestly, Jared, if you just took it over and you have a ton of script, you know what? Send me a quick email if you don't mind. Let's have a quick chat. It's going to take 5-10 minutes. I'll give you a couple pointers, and we'll start from that. And actually, that might be part of what I derive from one of my next boot camps, so I wouldn't mind it. So, Jared, you should have my email. I sent an email to everybody who registered earlier. Please reply and remind me that I asked you to email me about this. I'll gladly schedule something sometime next week if I have a minute. And we'll have a quick chat if you don't mind, and we'll kind of go from there. And I don't think I missed any questions. If I did, I'm terribly sorry. I think we're good. So everybody, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for your time today. I do have my thank you slide because thank you for coming today. I appreciate it. Don't forget the recording will be put in the Institute in about 2 to 4 weeks. That's about how long it takes. In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day. I will talk to you all soon, and I appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone.